And let me share my screen. All right. Is everybody able to see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome. So thanks everyone for joining. Today we basically are having our kickoff call for the NuCypher DAO. And really the purpose of this call is just to kind of level set and explain what the NuCypher DAO is, how it works, what sort of the motivation for creating the DAO is, the scope of the DAO, so like what aspects of the network it controls and can impact, and then also how to participate. So we're going to walk through a test proposal on our IBEX testnet, and you all are welcome to follow along, and we'll show you step by step exactly how to do that. And then at the end, there are a few things like open questions, I guess, that relate to the DAO that we basically want your feedback on. And we'll sort of enumerate some of those, and then also, to the extent that there's, any of you have participated in DAOs for other networks or on-chain governance in other networks, I think we'd definitely be interested in learning from your experience there and getting any feedback in general that you think is relevant that maybe we haven't thought about or haven't thought about enough. So with that, I'll kick it off. So the NuCypher DAO is basically a decentralized autonomous organization that uses Aragon's technology. And what the DAO is it basically governs and controls the NuCypher network. So that means a couple different things that we'll go into a little bit in more detail later in the call, but basically it governs different parameters of the network. So things like, the price ranges that nodes can charge for their services. It owns a smart contract, so it can potentially, deploy contract upgrades or changes. And it's composed entirely of NuCypher stakers. So it's not a straight vanilla one token holder, one vote. Basically, to have a say or to participate in the DAO, whether it's submitting proposals or validating proposals, you have to actually have staked NU. And the motivations for us, are several-fold. I think one obvious one is just to, given that NU is a work token and primarily is held by people who are staking the token, we wanted to basically empower that community with basically governance and control over the network. So any economic changes that relate to things like pricing or slashing, et cetera, directly impact stakers, and so in our minds they should be the ones basically who control whether those parameter changes get made and how the network sets those parameters. It's also meant to eliminate any dependency on NuCypher the company and our core team, so just furthering the decentralization of the network and removing that single point of failure, such that if NuCypher the company goes away, the network can still survive and is basically fully self-directed, is able to basically survive anything that could happen to the company itself. The scope of the DAO. So this is, I think, obviously where the sort of conversation starts to get a lot more interesting. And these are some areas that we'd like your thoughts on. These, particularly the first one, so network activation and mainnet launch. This is not something that we decided whether it makes sense to do it or not, but one possibility is that stakers could basically choose when the actual mainnet gets activated. So post-work lock, when everyone's claimed their stakes, someone could make a proposal saying we should start the network at this date, and stakers basically would be able to control directly when that happens, as opposed to sort of us as a company kind of arbitrarily setting a start date. That's sort of an open question for us, but the things that are directly in scope currently are, obviously any kind of feature changes, additions, upgrades, bug fixes that impact the contracts. So the DAO is the owner of all the NuCypher smart contracts, and to the extent some of those smart contracts are upgradable, the DAO is the one that is able to validate or reject any proposed contract changes. The DAO also controls parameters that relate to the network. So things like minimum, maximum price ranges, what the slashing parameters are, and what the penalties for slashing events are. So what we decided at NuCypher is at network launch, the slashing penalties are going to be very minimal. And then we're just going to basically leave it up to the DAO and the stakers if they decide that slashing penalties should be increased in the future. Since they're the ones who are directly impacted by that, we'll sort of leave it to the DAO to decide. And that also allows the network kind of like a slow start, where if something goes wrong for some reason in the early days of the network, you're not having crazy slashing events all over the place like we've seen in other networks. And then the DAO also governs itself. So it can change its own parameters. So things like, it could deploy different proposal tracks that have different validation timelines. It can change the minimum support thresholds, the minimum participation thresholds. And it also controls or can appoint and revoke members to the Security Council, which we'll talk about in more detail later. And the Security Council basically is this idea that we have for how to mitigate potential severe security vulnerabilities that may get reported and need to be fixed in kind of a timely and private way before being disclosed. So with that, I will turn it over to David, who's going to walk through a few more slides, and then also who will sort of walk us through a live proposal for making a proposal to the DAO and basically showing all of us how to validate that proposal.
Okay, thank you, McLean. Yeah, I think you have to enable screen sharing for me. Yeah,
I think I just did. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we were over here, I think. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, McLean. So going more into a little bit of the details of how this works in real life, I wanted to first explain a little bit how our architecture works. I'm not going to go into the details of our architecture, but just to show you what are the pieces that compose the NuCypher network. So as you know, the NuCypher network is a decentralized or a peer-to-peer network of nodes running the NuCypher software. The NuCypher software, it will give different threshold cryptography functionalities, starting with proxy encryption. And it's completely open and usable by anyone. But what matters for the DAO perspective is that the DAO, it's currently the rules for the stakers or the nodes in the network are coded in smart contracts, and these smart contracts are executed in the Ethereum blockchain, and this is something that can be controlled by, in principle, it could be controlled by a single entity, and that's something that we don't want. So we wanted to explore how to give you, the stakers, the chance to control. So this is the high-level view of how the NuCypher network works, and you can see that this is a very simplified view of the smart contracts. We have 4 main smart contracts that dictate how the network works. One of them is the NuCypher token, which is a simple ERC20 token. And the other 3 are actually the ones that really code the rules of the network. And probably the most important contract in our side is a staking escrow contract, which is the contract where you as a staker will deposit your new tokens, okay? And that contract is the one that will keep track of your availability and the contract that will give you token rewards, etc. The other two contracts are related to staking escrow in the sense that they will use it. And the first of them is called Policy Manager, which is the one that encodes or that stores all the metadata associated to policies, to sharing policies. And the second one, or the third one, is called Adjudicator, which is the one that it's used for slashing, basically. Okay, that was a really quick and simplified view of how what's the relationship of our smart contracts, and we are now going to be a slightly more detailed view of them. I showed you before in the right of the picture there are three main contracts, and one of the problems and difficulties of working with smart contracts that maybe you know is that the smart contracts are in principle they are immutable. So once you put them in the blockchain, there will be they will not change. They will never change. So how can we make new features on the network, or more importantly, how can we fix a security bug in the network? So that's something that the developers community in Ethereum have thought a lot about, and usually one of the main approaches for doing that is using what's called the proxy pattern, which basically means that instead of having that direct using directly the contracts with the code or with the logic that you are your smart contract logic, you will put another contract in between, which is it will act as a proxy. In our internal language in NuCypher, we call them dispatchers, but usually in every other place you will see them as proxies. And the dispatcher is just add one level of indirection for using the contracts. So actually, every time you will you or the network nodes really, or the CLA commands, or anything that is interacting with the NuCypher network contracts, they will not interact directly with the contracts that hold the actual code, but they will interact with the dispatchers, which are the proxies. Okay, why I'm telling you this? So I'm telling you this because the dispatchers will point to the specific contracts that hold the current code, and these targets can change. So they can change for different reasons. So for example, one of the reasons is that we have a new functionality for holding policies, and then what we will do, we will deploy a new policy manager, and then we will tell the dispatcher to use the new policy manager and discard the other policy manager, the old one. So that I'm sharing you a bit of the code of the dispatcher here in this slide. So in the right part, in the upper right part, you see that the dispatcher is a contract which is upgradable, which means what I just said, that you can take the dispatcher and tell it to target a different implementation. And the thing with our upgradable contracts is our upgradable contracts are ownable, which is the big rectangle here in the slides. And an ownable contract will have an address, an Ethereum address as the owner, which means that only the contract owner will be capable of telling the dispatcher, hey, this is not, please forget about the previous implementation and now use this new implementation. This is what we call retargeting, And that's actually what is done every time you will, the network has a new contract, a new version of the contract, a new upgrade or a security fix or whatever. So this is just to explain that in the end, the capability of implementing or upgrading the contracts or upgrading the functionality of the network implies ownership of the contract. So how is this related to governance itself? So in the end, this means that governance is based on who owns the contract. And there are different approaches to governance that we could follow. So in a centralized governance approach, basically just this monopoly guy will own the NuCypher contracts, and this person will be the only able to decide upon the fate of the network when upgrades are shipped, etc. However, we are far more interested in something that we think is more fair and more exciting, which is making this completely decentralized and giving the power of this to the community. So how does this look in a decentralized approach? Basically, what we will do is introduce an intermediary, which is called the agent. This is something from Aragon, from the DAO technology that we are using. And the agent it's another smart contract that is capable of executing things, like for example, executing a retargeting in one of our smart contracts. And the cool thing about the agent is that you can configure the agent so it only acts when the DAO tell it so. So in the end, what we will have in the decentralized approach is that the NuCypher DAO will be configured to control the DAO agent, and technically the DAO agent will be the only owner of the contracts. So when we deploy the contracts for the first time, they will be deployed by one of account that Ethereum address that we will control, since it's the only way to deploy it. But once it's deployed, we will transfer ownership completely to the agent of the DAO. And from that moment, the company or any team member, they will not have any control of the NuCypher contract at all. And every time we want to do any change, we will have to go through the DAO and make a proposal and wait for the staking community to validate or reject the proposal. That also means that anyone in the community can do this too. So it also releases us from having all the power to make proposals. So also the other stakers in the community can propose. So related to this, there are a couple of questions that we would like you to have your opinion, which is on certain parameters of the DAO. So the DAO can be configured when we create it with some initial parameters, and it's very important to have these parameters right, since they can be difficult to change or impossible to change in some cases. For example, the first question that maybe it's one of the more important right now for the community, and so I urge you to think about it and give us your opinion, is how long should proposals be open? This is very important because for some limitations of how Aragon, which is the framework for the DAOs that we use, one limitation of Aragon is that once you create your DAO with some with a specific duration for the proposals, you can't change it. So this one in particular, we have to have it right from the start. So I opened an issue on GitHub, and it's linked in this slide. And I think I also gave my personal opinion on the matter. For example, I think that something between 3 and 5 days is fine, and it's enough to give all the staking community time to discuss and vote and validate the proposals. But we are very interested on knowing what do you think. Another question related to this is, how can we deal with the potential spamming that may occur with proposals? Currently, as we have it configured the DAO right now, anyone that it's a member of the community can make proposals. A member of the community is just a staker. Even the smallest staker is an equal member of the community, and they can make proposals like every whale out there. So this could be used, or this could be abused to spam the DAO with proposals, potentially. So we are wondering also, what do you think should be the criteria for submitting proposals? There are many ways there are many alternatives here. For example, some DAOs require proposers to lock certain amount of tokens, or lock certain amount of ETH, or maybe they have some other type of limitations, and that's something that we are very interested to know your opinion. And also, there are some other thresholds called the support and the minimum approval, which are related to how the people validate the proposals, and what are the ratios between the yes and no's, and the participation ratios. Maybe this thing is a little bit more complex, so it's something we can discuss too on the issue. So, but in general, the point of this slide is that there are some parameters that we want your opinion. So if you have the chance to think about it, please let us know. Okay, and one of the last things before showing you the DAO itself is the Security Council thing. One of the difficult parts that come with decentralization of a network like ours is that maybe the procedure for proposing and validating a proposal can be too slow in some cases. So imagine that there is a critical bug, and that affects the stakes of the community in some way, and we have identified the problem, and we have a fix, and we want to push the fix to the network using the standard way to do that. So I was talking about proposing something around 3 or 5 days for passing a proposal. So that would be that could be a disaster if the bug is pretty serious. So we need some secondary or last resort mechanism to do this kind of updates, and to do them fast. So there are many, not many, but there are some alternatives to do that. And one of the better alternatives that we can think of is what we call the Security Council, which basically it's a selected group from the community that is appointed or ratified by the DAO itself. And this group of people could potentially push an upgrade, a change to a smart contract only in an emergency situation. And this group, of course, will be accountable of doing these changes, and they are they should be committed to explain any change they do to the community, so the community can support or reject this any change they do. Also, we think this council should be subject to change in a regular basis, like, I don't know, let's say, for example, every 6 months, but it could be any other parameter. Of course, that's something completely open to discussion, so we would like to see what do you think there. But basically, that's the idea we have behind the Security Council, some last resort mechanism to push upgrades fast in case of emergency, basically. Okay, now before going into the showing you how the DAO works in real life, I remind you that we have a testnet called IBEX, and the DAO for the IBEX testnet is on the link there. It's on drinkab.aragon.org. In that DAO, so in order to participate in a DAO, you need to be a staker in NuCypher. If you are, so there have been several chances to be a staker during this last week. So for example, we ran a worklock, a test worklock for the testnet like a couple of weeks ago. So if you participated there and you claimed your stake, then you're a staker in IBEX. Or maybe you can you got tokens from the faucet. Anyway, once you have your stake, you're automatically a staker or a member of the staking community. Maybe if you are interested in doing it now, you can try to do it now. Although I don't know if maybe it can be a little bit complex or it can get too long for you to complete. Don't. It's fine because IBEX has the proposal duration time set for 3 days. So I will show you how a proposal looks like, and I can show you how you can vote yes or no, and you have plenty of time during these 3 days to participate. Okay. Okay. This is the demo time. Okay. Yeah, you see my screen. I think I have maybe. Yeah, you see the DAO. Do you see anything?
Yep. Hey, David. Well,
Yeah,
we're
perfect.
gonna pause for a second. There was a few questions in the chat that I'll just read out for everyone.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Let me.
So Roman had asked, will the DAO be exclusively in control when mainnet launches, or will there be a grace period during which NuCypher code can make contract changes or fix discovered issues without requiring the DAO? And basically, the answer is like we're still evaluating this. I think our intention and hope right now is that the DAO will be in control at launch. But yeah, it could potentially include some sort of grace period where there's a short amount of time just to ensure that the network is stable before everything gets transitioned to the DAO. And then also the Security Council is also a way to kind of hopefully potentially alleviate any sort of near-term sort of stability or security issues around launch. And then there was a follow-up question: is the Security Council in the idea stage, or will it be launching alongside the DAO? And yeah, the Security Council is could be appointed just via any sort of vanilla DAO proposal. So it's possible to have it at launch. And then one more follow-up question was: do stakers who lock funds for longer have more vote in the DAO? And in the current implementation, the answer is no, but that's something that we've thought about, and that could be changed by given that the DAO controls its own parameters. that could be something that could be changed.
I'm writing down these questions, some of them in the slides, because they are really good questions. Yeah, I mean, please continue to write questions in the chat, even if I'm still showing you the DAO. Okay, so let's continue. Do you see then the Aragon interface?
Yes.
Okay, so this is how the Aragon interface looks like. It's actually pretty nice, and you can see everything from the DAO in there. You can see not only the proposals themselves, but you can see also how it's configured, how permissions are configured. The way that we have this DAO, it's very simple. So for example, this DAO doesn't manage any funds, like it doesn't manage, I don't know, DAI or new tokens, but it could potentially also manage these kind of things, and it will be shown here in the event of that happen. So for a normal, let's say for a typical staker, they would be probably more interested in knowing what are the proposals, what are the current proposals, and how to express their opinion on the proposals. So this is done directly in the main in the main page of the user interface. It asks you, what do you want to do? And one of the options is vote. Okay, so if you click on vote, or you click on voting on the left, then you will go to the list of all the current and past proposals. Okay, like half an hour ago, I just created a proposal, which is it's a proposal that it's not going to do anything, because it's just a question. So that's something that I think we also we didn't went too much into details before, but I think it's really interesting to explore is just general questions. Of course, telling the DAO agent what target of a smart contract to use is very important, but it can be also very important to show what's the current feeling or ideas of the community, and express it with text like proposals like this one. Okay, so and that's very easy to create and very easy to participate to. So I'm going to show you how you can participate in one of them. So basically, let's just a second. Okay. So I'm currently connected in here, but usually when you connect to the site, you have first to remember to use the connect account button, which is in the right upper side, and you can use any of the supported software for wallets for that. I personally have MetaMask installed with the account with one of my staking accounts. So, for example, I have MetaMask with this staker 0x2160, and this is one staker currently in the IBEX testnet. So, if you want to participate, please make sure you are using a wallet with an account that is a staker in the network. That's the main thing that you want to make sure in order to participate. Once you have that, and yeah, one small detail that I didn't explain before is that the IBEX testnet runs on the Rinkeby Ethereum testnet. So you need to participate. You need Rinkeby ETH. Okay. So once you have your account, which is the one you use for staking, and you have some Rinkeby ETH with it, then you can join the IBEX DAO, and you will see votings like this. So for example, I have this really dumb example of proposal where only I have the test question. Well, but that doesn't matter. The only important thing is that you can actually say if you validate and you approve this proposal or you want to reject this proposal. So that's basically the only thing that you need to know to react if you want to react to other proposals. So for example, let's say I want to say no, I want to reject this. Then this will show you a small pop-up in the right saying that yes, you can do this action. I can because I'm a staker. And okay, so right now it's currently asking me for to sign with my MetaMask. Okay, and then it will show you something like, okay, transaction sign, and then this vote. Well, maybe I need to refresh. I need to hit refresh. Okay, now, okay, let me reconnect my account. Okay. It's very interesting that one of the things that is very interesting is that it shows you that currently I voted no, for example, but it also shows me how many IBEX tokens I had when I voted no. Not exactly not when I voted no. It's actually the tokens I have when this proposal was created. Actually, in the how this works is that every time a proposal is created, a snapshot of the network is taken, and it takes the balances, the new balances for all the stakers. And in my case, I had like I don't know, like 20 million something IBEX new. Okay, so when I voted no, it's like I put all my 20 million IBEX in the no, yeah, in the no place. But currently, anyone that is a staker could vote, could participate too. I don't know if any of my fellow team members in NuCypher can try to participate too, so we can see some different numbers here. Or any of you that joined the IBEX testnet before. So it will be open. It will be open for 3 days. So there's more time for to participate. But basically, this is it for participating in proposals. And there's possibility of making more things. For example, you could change your vote. So I could right now change my vote to yes, which is something not especially interesting or exciting. And the other thing is how you can submit proposals. So that depends on what kind of proposals you want to make. So for general text-like proposals, it's very easy. You just go to this link that says voting, and in the upper right side there is a small button saying new vote, and you just place your question here. It's very easy. If you are, and currently, since we don't limit in any way how or who can propose, every staker in IBEX can make free text proposals. So if you're interested in doing that, please do it, and we can participate, all of us, all the stakers. And the other type of proposals are those that are based on, for example, DAO parameters or updating the agent. And those are currently something that you have to do it through some CLI commands from Aragon. So that's far more technical for this initial scope. Maybe that's something we can show in other calls for this for the NuCypher DAO. For this initial DAO, I think the, showing this how you can participate in proposals and placing the simple text like proposal is probably enough. I don't know if you have maybe questions regarding the procedure. I will be very happy to answer them. Okay, in the meantime, I will continue with the slides. We just have a couple of them. For one of them is some frequently asked questions that we think that we may encounter here. I just copied one of them because I think it's really interesting. The other two questions that we previously had is, for example, do I have to use my staking wallet as my validating wallet? Validating means participating in a proposal. And so the answer is yes. There is no way for making delegation like in other DAOs. Although that's something that maybe we can explore in the future, but currently there is no mechanism to delegate. Another question that we had in the past, we even discussed it internally, and there were different opinions. There is this participation in the DAO is only limited to people that are staking NU, or people that hold NU in their wallets, they can participate? So the initial answer for that is no. Currently, only people that are actually staking in the network, they are capable of participating. But we made it in such a way that if the community decides that the opinion of token holders, simple token holders, is important, we can add it. It's not trivial to add it, but we can, we can of course work to do that and make the proper changes. But we think that initially we want to go with just the stakers who are basically the people that are actually putting resources behind for the network, and they're the main members of the NuCypher community. And yes, the other question is the one that was placed before. I just wanted to write it down because it's a really good question. So yeah, basically that's it. We want to know. So the goals for this call was to show you what there were two goals. One of them was to show you what's the DAO, how does it look like, how does it work, and the second goal is to get your feedback. Your feedback is pretty important for us. There are several things or several areas that we are eager to know your opinion. One of them is the approach to these emergency upgrades, what we call the Security Council. Another place for your opinions is to know what do you think about mainnet activation. And finally, the parameters for the DAO. This is also pretty important for us. Where you can discuss these things between yourselves, with the community, with us. So there are many places. that you can reach us. But in principle, the best way for that, maybe it should be a mailing list. We created a mailing list for stakers. So there's the link there, so you can join. And if you have any questions, please put them there. And of course, we are always on Discord. We have the NuCypher DAO channel for that, and you are encouraged to participate. And of course, if there's anything else that we didn't consider or that we forgot, so please let us know. We are very interested in knowing what you think. And that's it. Do you have more questions?
Thanks, David. Awesome. If there aren't any questions, we did record this, so we'll get that processed and uploaded hopefully to the Discord channel, and we'll also post a link to the slides as well, so you all can reference that.
Yeah, Roman just placed a question in the chat. The question is if there is an open forum or announcement for the team. We just created a forum in Google forum for a mailing list, so you can participate. And we are always reachable from Discord too, so yeah, you can also engage on discussions there. I don't know if this completely answers your question.
But if it's related to the email list specifically, I think we just created it, so this is like, I think we'll experiment and see, what makes sense. But I think the way we're envisioning this Google group or email list is a place to discuss proposals. Right now, the way that it's configured, anyone can request to join this group, and then once we approve you, once you're a member of the group, you're able to post that email list, and we'll just see how things work out. If that works well, or if there's too much spam or whatever, we'll reevaluate. But right now, I think the intent is that it will be an open email list for announcements from us, but also anyone else that wants to submit proposals can mail there as well.
Can you post the link in the chat?
I believe I did.
Oh, great.